What's going on, everybody? What's going on? You're probably wondering. You're probably wondering what's happening right now. Like, what's going on? What's going on? Right? You're now tuned into Harrison Family Values and a joint effort with SBU Live. Yes. Now,
Dearly beloved.
as you know, okay. Well, first, before we go any further, if you're watching, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, whatever, do us a favor. For the algorithm, just one time, hit that like button. It'll let YouTube know that this is a video we're sharing out. You want to get as many people on this live stream as possible, so please do that right now. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. If you don't know who I am, I'm Dre from Harrison Family Values, and I am what you may consider a marriage advocate. I love marriage. I support marriage. I want to see successful marriages. I want to see successful families. The truth of the matter is this. Specifically in the Black community, we want to see communities thrive. We want to see communities flourish. But for us to have strong communities, we must first have strong marriages or families. And for us to have strong families, we must have strong marriages and so on and so forth. And, you know, in today's modern time, with everything so heavily driven by two things, money and sex, right? It's very difficult for people to have to be able to go into a marriage and really consider the togetherness in it, because when it comes to intimacy, people are trying to get what they can get out of the other person. When it comes to money, same thing. You're trying to figure out what you can get from the other person. And this starts in the dating phases, right? Which is why I say there's nothing wrong with coffee dates. But there's a reason why, okay? I have a mentality that while dating, there's a maturation. There's, as Tia Mari would say it, a graduation to certain things, right? And when I got married, there were certain things that I wanted my wife to experience that I didn't allow other women to experience. And coffee dates allows for things like having a conversation about the whole 50-50 thing, like SB talked about in the introduction of this video. It allows for genuine conversation. There's no mask being put on. You can be your genuine self and give the other person the opportunity to be themselves and for them to see you, right? But we go into marriage, we go into relationships today trying to put our best foot forward, trying to impress the other person, because for men specifically, and I can speak for men, we are encouraged. We are pressured, if I may say, to splurge and go all out financially for a woman that we're not even committed to, just so that we can get their attention. And I think that that's whack. I think that's nonsense. But then we go into marriage with that same pattern. And one of the biggest reasons marriages end in divorce is because of finances. It's because of finances. And maybe about a year ago, I had the privilege of watching a few videos, because she said this in a couple of videos, of SB talking about her current financial situation in her marriage and how it wasn't always so. So I hit her up on Instagram and was like, you know what, let's have this conversation, because some couples are looking to get married and they're looking to go into marriage thinking that we must go 50-50 because that's a popular modern idea. But we wanted to discuss the 50-50 myth. Does it work? Does it not work? Some of the frustrations. And then let's talk about what she did to make a shift in her own marriage finances to elevate where she is now. So what's going on, SB? Thank you so much for agreeing to have this conversation with me.
Thank you so much for inviting me and having me here and talking about this subject, because it actually does need to be talked about in detail, because, you only give a little bit, and then, everybody, let's just be honest, everybody cannot apply this to their situation. Mm-hmm. They absolutely can't. One of the most important things is that you have to be with a person or married to a person that you and that person have the same goals. Yep. If you know that you are a shopper and you have some issues with that, a man wouldn't want to put his money in one pot with that person. Or if that woman knows that her husband has a gambling issue or whatever, that wouldn't be something that we need to put one pot together as of yet. We need to work on that relationship issue before we combine those pots. I was just fortunate that I had a man. It was a God-fearing man. That is a God-fearing man. And for us, we wanted to be married, wanted to be together, but we went in with two single mindsets. We got married, but you know, we just hadn't, we just were not thinking like a married couple as of yet. I was living as an adult on my own, paying my own bills, him doing the same. So when we got married, why wouldn't you just continue to do what you do? And believe it or not, it did not work for us. So we were, for whatever reason, I don't understand it, but for whatever reason, we would bounce checks left and right. It was like, wow, what is going on? We used to talk about this just like I'm talking to you right now, is what is going on? Why can't we get this money thing together? It's like, it didn't make any sense. It was like the timing was always off. Had the money, but the timing was always off. Here come a check, whatever. It was just wasn't right. So we went to a pastor for counseling, and he just simply said, have y'all ever thought about putting your money in one pot? And there it goes. We looked at each other like, we two big dummies right now, because we didn't oppose it. It was just, we just never thought about it. It was like, we two big dummies sitting up in here. So from that time, we put all our money in one pot, and it grew and never had any more problems with money. Well, let me say that differently. We've had more problems with money, but not in that aspect. I'm in the real estate business, so it crashed. We are entrepreneurs. My husband is an entrepreneur, so we had businesses that we started and didn't make it and things of that nature. But as far as the money and what we were doing with our money, that part was taken care of. We had the concept down. We knew what we needed to do.
Yeah. So why do you think I'm asking this because I'm pretty sure there's thousands of couples that was in that same situation. So you say you don't know why you did it that way, but why do you think so many couples go into marriage today with that mindset?
I think it was probably the same as us. We still had that single mindset. We hadn't conformed to being married. We had not conformed to being one. We knew what we were supposed to be doing. We knew we were in a relationship with someone that we loved and cared for and trust or what have you. We knew the concept of marriage, but our minds had not totally altered. We didn't have the mindsets of married people as of yet. And we were still trying to do certain things as single people, not knowing, I look back on it now and was just trying to figure out, why couldn't we just put this together, which is what you're supposed to do when you're married. But it just, for whatever reason, bills and money didn't, it didn't equate togetherness, or it didn't matter. It seemed like, to me, thinking about it seems like that part just didn't matter as long as it got done. But it was the toughest thing.
Yeah. Was it a 50-50 thing? Like, was it something that, what's going on, Bella Rings? Was it something that you guys went 50-50 on the bills and the mortgage and the utilities? Like, how did it work out?
Honestly, I don't remember. Okay. I want to say it worked out like this, that I don't remember. I really don't, because I was talking to my husband about that. I was like, man, that's been 28 years ago. I don't remember exactly how it was. But I want to say, I think is when the bills came in, we just paid them.
Paid it. Yeah.
It wasn't like, you're responsible for this, I'm responsible for this. I don't remember even having that conversation because we only lived like that for probably about a year and a half. Yeah. We, bounced enough checks, gave enough money till we realized, what the heck, we ain't doing it no more. So it didn't take us long. We were not selfish in that area. We just couldn't figure it out. I don't know. It's weird. We just couldn't figure it out.
And once you guys figured out, what happened?
The money just like multiplied like it was supposed to, because guess what? If I had 20 or he had 40, 60 is more than 20. So, hey.
So now let's talk the percentages though, because that's the thing, right? I think so. When Kevin Samuels got rest his soul, when it was alive, one of the questions he would ask is, what percentage of the bills he would ask women, what percentage of the bills were you willing to pay? And most of the times it was, I don't want to have to pay the majority of the bills, if anything, right? So there's women, and men with this expectation that a man is going to pay for the majority of the bills, if not 100%. And women, have adopted that as well. And in that mindset, people are thinking, well, that's the male's responsibility because they are provider. And you know what? I'm somewhat of a traditionalist in that area where it's like, yeah, I see that. Men should be providing, right? But we live in 2023 now, okay? Most men, I got chapstick on my list. Most men, make an average income or below average income. Most families require two incomes in the home in order to pay the bills and all that stuff. So, how realistic is it for a couple to believe that, especially if there's two incomes in the home coming in, that it's the sole responsibility of one person to pay all the bills?
So listen, I'm probably the worst person to ask that question to, because I am a traditional person.
Yeah.
So I believe that you can do whatever it is that you want to do, and I actually think you should be intentional in doing so. If you are a man that's going into a marriage and you know for sure that you want kids, you have to prepare for that.
Facts.
So if that means that while you are preparing for those children that your wife takes on a job, then that's what happens. If you, excuse me, I'm about to sneeze.
Bless you. Ahead of time.
If you are that person who's saying, you know what, maybe we'd be on a 5-year plan, and for the first 5 years, we're not going to have any kids. So then you would plan for something different. But for me, as for us as a new couple, you know, building together and what have you, it's never been a percentage of what I make and a percentage of what he makes, which would take care of all the bills. It's always been 100%. We've always, all the money I've ever made and all the money he's ever made as new coming in, before we took on the businesses that actually were prosperous. Before that, all the money went in one pot, and we had to come to conclusions, or my husband had to say to himself, hey, look, my wife is better at paying bills. Her organizational skills are better than mine. So he allowed me to actually pay the bills, but we both had access to all the money, but there was never any percentages. And that is exactly how we did it. So whatever we, you know, once the money grew, you know, the more you can do. But if you don't have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of money. You have to take care of the necessities. But to go back to the reason why I said I'm not the one you want to ask, is because I happen to think whatever the intentions are or whatever the plan is, I happen to think if a man is planning to have kids and he prefers that his wife lives within his means, then that's how it should be. And if that just means a small job or no job for a particular time for us to do certain things, I absolutely think that that's the way it should be. I don't think women should be stressing themselves with 10 and 12-hour day jobs just so they can have a lot of material things that do nothing but stress you out and cause stress in your relationship. So that's why I said I'm probably the worst. I don't care what time frame that you're in. Even in 2023, if all my husband could afford was a 1-bedroom apartment for me, and he was ready to marry me and I agreed to that, then that's what we need to be living in until his plan says, okay, we need to do this so we can be at another place. Now, whatever that plan is, I'm with that plan as long as he has one. I think the problem comes in is when y'all don't have a plan, or when people don't have a plan and you kind of go into it like us. We had no plan. And then when somebody gave us a plan, it was like, duh, you know, it was easy to follow. But I noticed about men, y'all are very goal oriented. So whatever it is y'all normally say you want, and it's written down and y'all can see it, y'all kind of achieve it.
Yeah, we're gonna go get it. Like, it's like, you're gonna get it.
Yeah. So I you know, so for me, so if my husband, and I think we started out in a 2-bedroom house or something. My husband has always been the entrepreneur. You know, he from beginning, you know, he used to tell a little story to me about how as a high school kid, he would get his little briefcase and walk downtown just looking, you know, one day I'm gonna be here. So that's always been his plan. I had to adjust to that, because I would be the one that would go get a job or go get an extra job to make an ends meet, instead of saying, you know what, maybe I don't need cable.
So,
you know,
but you know, like, there's also this idea of struggle love, right? So some people will consider that struggle love. And what do you mean? I can't buy what I want to buy. I can't travel when I want to travel. I have to live within this person's means. So, because today, again, modern thought has become extremely self-centered, and about, you know, not even self-preservation, just self-fulfillment. I want whatever I can have right now, and it's gone beyond when I was growing up, the microwave generation, where we wanted things quick. Now it's like an expectation, because we wanted things quick, but we somewhat worked for it. Today, people don't want to work toward anything and expect everybody else to do things for us. So, you know, some people may, and shout out to Mr. Boss who's doing this thing. But some people may look at that, especially today, some women, and say, I'm not getting into that because that's struggle love. Now, how would you respond to that?
I would just tell them, listen, I'm about the long game. You know, because you can decide and make choices that will have you struggle, because you don't have to struggle. And me, a struggle is lack. But if I have my necessities, I don't think I'm lacking. So for me to go on vacation, you know, I don't have the money to go on vacation. I like to see my money anyway. You know, so for me to do certain things, if I can't do it at that particular time, I'm okay, because I'm on a long-term plan. You know, if when I got 50, I got the $500,000 house, I got the car I want, I got everything that I want, and a bank account, you know, my husband's, you know, prosperous, and we good, then I would rather be there than to have eviction notices on my door because I chose to go out of town versus paying the rent on time. Or, you know, I never wanted to be in a place where, you know, you go into an environment and you want a credit or something like that, and they tell you no. You know, I always wanted to be able to stand behind my name. So therefore, I had to make sure I'm living a certain way, you know, sacrificing myself, because it's embarrassed for somebody else to say no. It's embarrassing for somebody else to say no to you. And I think that that's what we need to make sure the younger generation understands. This is a long game. Marriage is a long game. But if you stress yourself out in the beginning, you won't make it there. But if you build with a person and you see the work that you put in, you know, it gets better every, you know, like, it's so funny. Like, I think maybe like the 2 years in, me and my husband went and bought a washer and dryer or something like that. And we was like, oh God, we feeling like adults now. You know, every time we did something, we felt more grown, you know, more like, more like you're married, more like you know, you're doing something, you're walking in your purpose. You know, I'm saying this now, but back then it was just what we did. But you're like, we felt like, it's like when we bought a house with a full kitchen and not a galley kitchen, it was like, oh, I can cook more for you now, babe. And then so the next thing was, well, baby, you get me a bigger kitchen, I'll cook more. So it was just always that type of thing. It was never, you know, you need to have it all today, and this is all you go have. You know, it was always a building process that we enjoyed taking. And I'm not even saying, well, we're not building anymore per se, but now we about to relax in it all. You know,
like you're established in it. You're content.
Yeah.
And I think that's I'm a Christian, and the Bible says, Philippians, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength, right? And a lot of people, I was talking about this with a friend the other day. Ironically, his name is Andre Harris, kind of funny. But how we look at that scripture and we don't think about the context of it, right? Where Paul in that scripture was referring to how he knew what it felt like to have and have not.
Yes.
To achieve, like, to have money and go without, and then he responded, I can go through all things through Christ who give me strength, or I can do all things through Christ who give me strength. So we live in a time where, again, people want it now, they want it fast, and there's a whole lot of comparisons, right? Where social media has taken over our lives. We're on a social media platform right now having a conversation, you know, about this. It's taken over our lives, and for young people who probably didn't have, they see others who have, and they want, and they have this expectation of it. So do you find that plays a part in how, one, young people today are choosing spouses, and two, how they perceive relationships when they go into it?
The way they're choosing spouses, they're basing a good man on external features and preferences and things like that. And that money is no representation of a good man. It's kind of crazy when they say things like that. That's no representation of a good man, because money comes and goes. But I always hear that somebody says a good man, they automatically say one that makes, you know, has provision. Yes, provision is good, and that's one of his duties to have provision. But what exactly does that mean? It means for him to provide the necessities. That is a good man. There's some other things too, but you know, and then they'll say, well, he has to be 6 feet tall. What in the world does that have to do with a good man? So you are exactly right. I think they are very confused about longevity, you know, the long plan, and they don't know what to look for in a good man, because we are in a total access. We got
Yeah.
total access to everything. We're seeing modelless people in their most beautiful, we're most beautiful behind these cameras, right? So they're seeing only that. So they're not actually, it's not real. They're making a list. There's nothing organic about the relationships because you're not meeting people. Lately I've put out that I would prefer that women and men just date on referral. Make sure you're dating somebody that knows somebody that know
Somebody.
you. Yeah, no more of this, you
Apps.
know.
Swipe left.
Yeah,
No,
no,
no swiping
no,
left.
because you just don't know you just don't know, and that could be such a bad situation. I mean, it could be deadly. So
But that's a good point, because if somebody is referring you to somebody else, they have done some level of vetting themselves, and they think that you guys might be good together.
yeah,
You
and
know.
then not only that, they know you. They can say what is good and what is bad. I mean, long as you're going in any situation with your eyes wide open, it really doesn't matter. It's your
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah.
But you just don't want to be with somebody and then 3 years later figure out he's a serial killer,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
that she, you know, the Black Widow. You want to be like, even if she was found guilty, it's a lot of people missing around them. You want to know that, you know.
Yeah. And it seems like today, people want others to look at their lives a specific way, so they carefully curate their lives, whether it be through social media, even in person. Right? They carefully curate their lives to make themselves look good, make themselves appear a certain way in life. And I can name some celebrities out there that do that in their dating, but I won't say any names. All right. But it seems like that's what they do. And it's all about perception, not about reality, not really about authenticity.
Right.
So when they go into marriage, they're looking at perception, what others are going to see, how others are going to view them, and they're not really looking at, as I agree with you, the long game
No.
and what it means to grow together in a relationship. So to go back on the finances part, what do you think is the reason why two individuals will get married, right, and then want to keep their finances completely and totally separated from one another?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
What it shows is a lack of trust.
Mm.
But you asked the question is why would they want to get married? Again, I would say it's probably the same thing that me and my husband suffered from when we went into our marriage. It was not a lack of trust. It was just we had not changed that mindset. Our mindsets were not totally on being married. We didn't oppose it. So when somebody said it, was just like the light was turned on, like duh, because we did not have premarital counseling. We didn't. We always participated in a lot of couples ministries and things of that nature, but just one-on-one counseling we did not have. So it was just, I hate to say it, but it was just something that was overlooked. And I think a lot of times that is what happens in marriages, getting into a marriage, we overlook. But now I'm here and you're here and a lot of other people are here. See, we didn't have social media.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just, you had to look at your parents, or look at some other married couples or things of that nature to see maybe how it was going. But to sit down and talk to someone about their finances, you weren't going to do that. Nobody was going to share details about it that way. So it was just one of those things that we felt like, okay, you took care of yourself. I took care of myself. Okay, now we're together. Why wouldn't we be able to take care of ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
But it was just, but again, I think a lot of problem is we have women and men, right, going into marriages financially, and they're looking at the finances of the man because he is the provider.
True.
And they're saying, okay, as a Black man, oh no, I'm not going to say that. As a man, average in the United States, it's about $57,000. It's maybe a little bit more for a man. Okay, so what can this man, he's going to make that decision on what it is he can actually afford to do. If he's living in that one bedroom apartment and he has a car and he's living perfectly, everything's fine with him. And he has a plan for his life. Another 5 years, I'm going to do this and this and this and this. Excuse me. That is his plan.
Mm-hmm.
If he decides to take on a wife, she may look at that as though this is not enough. What he needs to look at is that she's not a wife. It's not for him to bring her in to put her to work so they can have more stuff. She is his helpmate. This is true, but he shouldn't have to rely on what she is making for the betterment of their family.
Facts. So why do you say she's not a wife? Let's go into that, because I know some women are watching this and they're like, all right, SB is on one right now.
I'll be on it a lot. Well, the reason why I'm saying she's not a wife is because her mindset has not changed from being a single person, a single-minded person who thinks about herself and her well-being, to being a married woman whose concentration is her family, her husband, and her family.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? See, because I don't think people equate lack of money with stress in a relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if we don't make the choice to make and create these bills, we don't have the stress behind them.
Yep.
But we continuously make the choice to have the stress of having the bills. And then when it comes to pay them, we don't have the money. So we blame it on one or the other when we never had to have it in the beginning. Somebody has to take the leadership position and be like, hey, look, that is not a necessity today. We can have this later on, but right now what we're doing is this apartment, this little house, this car insurance, light, cell phone, whatever the necessities are. And in 5 years, I'm going to be here. Let me show you this. It's very important that men show women their plan and how they fit into this plan, and they don't need to deviate from that plan. They don't need to allow, the needs or the wants of a woman. And even if he's incorporated a vacation, or even if she is working, they don't have any children yet, and she is working to bring money in, that money needs to be invested or put into maybe that one vacation a year or something of that nature. It needs to be utilized. It doesn't need to be just spent.
So with that being said, if she is making an income and she's working, you're saying that there's things that they can do with that money together.
Yeah. As long as as long as we're not relying on her money to pay bills.
Yeah.
Because when that happens, see, that's where things start to get crazy. Because what if, okay, now it's time for her to have the baby. She's not going to work.
Yeah.
Or now she is working. Now she's having a baby. Now she got to go to daycare. Now we got to make more money, because daycare now is what, like $400 a week?
It's ridiculous.
You get what I'm saying?
There's some daycares I know in New York City that cost more than private high school.
But you know what? But guess what? If she didn't do that and we did decide to have a baby, she could take care of the child. Once the child gets school age, then, she could go back to work and things can, mellow themselves out again. But she will still have a nest egg of 5 years saved, or a year or 2 years, whatever the plan is. We'll have that money put away or invested in something that now we can go and do what the plan said we were supposed to do with ease, and we don't have to struggle. But we don't have to look rich from the beginning either. We can look smart and we could be in love with each other and be romantic and into each other, laughing, liking each other for some long term. It doesn't have to be, oh, you make me sick. Oh, you lazy. Oh, you don't make enough money. That type of stuff. Because one thing I do know about women, I'm a woman, we do require security and stability. Yeah. And once that's left, we don't have it, we are not good friends. We're not good people.
Got you. So let me ask you a question about the 50-50, right?
Okay.
What are some caution flags you would give a couple going into marriage thinking that 50-50 is the best way to do it because there's two incomes?
I would definitely, I don't know if I would put out a caution flag. It's okay to have two incomes. But the 50-50 part, I would say don't require her to pay any bills, because this lends to stress. Because if you are planning on having children, the bills still have to be paid. And if you have already volunteered 50% of your income, which again is a roommate situation, if men typically make more money, and we're talking about 50-50 in finances, y'all, that's it.
Yeah.
If a man is making more money than his wife, and he's paying half of the bills and she's paying half of the bills, there's already a deficit. We are already looking at each other like there's a problem. Because what if she, who knows what she's doing, where she's working? She may only work part-time. To me, that just adds stress to the relationship when you could put all your money in one pot. Both individuals have access. We have some sort of plan on what we do with money, some sort of budget. till we can get to another level in the relationship, whether it's children, whether it's whatever, school, college, whatever the situation is. We just have to have a plan on it. 50-50 is not something you do in my opinion, in a marriage relationship. If that's something you want to do, to me, it shows a lack of trust. I do know that people do 100% different ways, whereas we might have a bill account where we put money in here and this is for bills and things of that nature. We're totally transparent. Now at this point in our life, we have several different accounts, but our names, both names, my name and his name is on everything, and everybody has access to whatever it is we need to know. There's total transparency. And, we have gotten to a point where we don't have to pretty much check in with what we're spending and what have you. But I think that that type of accountability is necessary until you do reach a certain level within your marriage financially. You do have to account for the money you spend. You definitely do.
Yeah. So Trey is in the chat. What's going on, Trey? Glad you're here. He's giving some pushback. One of the comments he says is, again, y'all need a software update. Ad hominem, but I'll accept it. What woman wants to live off of $57K a year? Y'all out of touch. So if I can just, I don't know if he completely heard you in what you were saying. What SB was saying is that a wife would look at that salary and live within her means, and not saying that they're going to stay at 57K. Now, I think Trey has a point as far as in today's time, a lot of rhetoric is being spewed out there about struggle love, about women settling and things like that. So I understand where he's coming from with this. But truth be told, if you find a good woman who has a wife mindset, not a single woman mindset, she's going to look at that 57K and say, you know what, the extra money I make, can go to those things, and we'll look at how we can level him up so that in 5 years, because he has a plan, we don't have to be in that space. So again, I think Trey is looking at the now and not looking at the long game. And this is not me like attacking Trey. I just think that Trey has a point because of what's been spewed out today as far as rhetoric. But the reality is a good woman will say, okay, that's 57K right now. It won't be 57K in 5 years. It definitely won't be that in 10 years. I'm here for the long game. But then he did ask a similar question. Why can't she pay half the bills? What is she doing with her money? So I know you touched a little bit about that. If you could just remind them.
Well, I would always suggest that all monies go into one pot. So what they would decide to do would be whatever the husband's plan is for his family. I would suggest we invest the money, or if we're having children in 5 years or whatever the situation would be, we would put that money away. Now, it also could include that we go on vacation once a year or something like that. But it would be a plan that we would have. But what we would not do is live off of it. And to your point, if a woman did not want to live off of $57,000 a year, and that's what that man is offering at that time, that good man, he's offering $57,000 a year, and she says, well, she doesn't want that, then she just did him a great favor. Because like I said, it's a long-term thing. We're trying to keep people married forever. And then to do that, that requires sacrifice. And sometimes you have to sacrifice in order to make it to the long term. If finances is one of the number one thing that breaks up marriages, why wouldn't you want to lay out a good financial plan that keeps you engaged long term? I mean, if I know that I'm gonna get this job, or your wife is gonna have a job that stresses her out. I've already said this so many times. When a woman is emotionally stressed, tired, and things of that nature, men, y'all are not getting no sex. So that stress is out of relationship. It's not going.
That better be dry. It'll be a dry bed.
So I'm trying to keep the relationship intact. So if y'all don't want to hear how to keep the relationship intact, you're going to do what you want to do. But I'm telling ladies, it's okay to live off of $57,000. What is it that you want? Now, what is it that you want? If your husband calculates or put in plans something special or whatever for you all, and y'all agree on it, I think that's absolutely the way it should be. Yeah. But I live off of one pot. Food, lights, those things are the necessities. And that happened. That that probably lasted for about 5 years with us. Then we would start, became able to start spending money, then we started buying investment properties and things of that nature, but it was always done as one. It was never done, oh, he over here doing this, he over here doing that. And then let me just share this part with you all. So again, I've said this a lot. I went and got my real estate license because we were buying investment properties. For many years, y'all, year after year after year, I made over 6 figures the whole time. I put all that money in that one pot. And that money was to buy more investment properties, to open more businesses and all that, everything, whatever happened until about 2009. Y'all know what happened. But anyway, I did that. And I think that this is my opinion. I just think that was a way we were setting each other up, because since that time and in between time, my husband's businesses has always been what we lived off of. So what else was I supposed to do?
And I think the dangers of the 50-50 is the how we think about it, right? A man pays half, women pay half, right? Because they have 2 incomes. So when you have a 50-50 mindset when it comes to money and marriage, you don't really have a complete mindset of oneness within the marriage, because and also it becomes a matter of contentment. Because let's say, for instance, she had to cut back on hours, or they're downsizing, and they didn't want to lay her off, but she's no longer salaried, she's hourly now, and they cut it in half. Now she has 50% of the bills that she has to be responsible for, but she can't pay now. So now you're supplementing it, and now you're frustrated because you have to supplement that income. And it could be vice versa, because a guy could be making 6 figures, she could be making 50K, and now he's making 40K, and now she's got to supplement. It's going to be a source of frustration. But what if, and Trey, I'm talking to you because I think you agree here. What if there is no 50-50? There is no you pay this bill, I pay this bill, or you pay half this bill and pay half the bill. What if you put everything in the same pot? Everything. Pay every bill from there, right? What if we do that instead of looking at it as a 50-50 or a shared responsibility? Like, you do this and I do that. What if we look at it like, okay, we do this? What if we can look at the marriage and not compete with who's making what in the marriage, because we understand that whatever you make, we make. Whatever I make, we make. Let's do this thing together.
Right.
But what if we look at it like that?
Yeah. But not only that, we talk about in this space so much about women and their need to be equal. If we're making them equal or accepting the fact that they want to contribute equally, what exactly are we doing? Aren't we contributing to that thought process? And then, because if you're equal in finances, because it actually goes further than that. But if you're equal in finances, we're still going to respect you, because that's just what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully. But what if you lose like you just said, you gave the example of her losing her job. If we said, okay, I'm 57, she's 50. Now that's $107,000. And we based our life off of $107,000 a year. We went and got the house that was $250,000, $250,000. Now she lost her job. His $57,000 is not going to pay for that. That's why. And then guess what? Now he's no longer a good man. He's no longer a good provider because he can't do it. Whereas he could have continued to be it within his means with his $57,000. And you could have continued to make whatever money it was you were making and putting into that one pot, but it could have been being invested. It could have been building with your husband. And it wasn't like I'm taking it. He's not taking the money from you. You have total access to the money, but we have a plan. Now, I see here, Trey, and I could be wrong because I'm not reading the comment section like that. But let me add this. I don't think we've today said not one time that a woman should not work. There's nothing wrong with a woman working. I have worked my entire marriage, and then of course before. So there's nothing wrong with a woman working. Now, do I think a woman should work 10 to 12 hours a day? No, I don't. I definitely think a woman's job as a helpmate is to take care of her home. Now, that's if children are involved. Prior to that, She needs to make sure her home is taken care of, but she actually needs to make sure her husband is taken care of. She don't need to be coming up in here tired, talking about I'm stressed out, my head hurting, I'm feeling some anxiety because I got this. No. Nothing supersedes the marriage. So you got the wrong job, dear. So let's go get you another job. It's okay because we don't have any kids. She definitely needs to be productive. And if she's not helping you with your business, because maybe she can't, then she needs to be doing some work that is beneficial to her and doesn't take away from the marriage. So,
and I agree with that, and I co-sign that for sure because that's important. So let me ask you this, all right? The one pot, okay, in your experience, can you talk a little bit to that? Because, so what encourages me to save is like the money that I see exponentially growing in my bank account. And I kid you not, man. One time I was looking and I'm like, yo, right? And I realized like I have to get my brakes done, right? And I was like, you know what? Let me get the brake pads myself and see if I can do it because I don't want to touch. Like I don't want to spend nothing. I just wanted to keep going up, right?
Right.
And you said that once you guys made that shift, you started to see exponential growth within your finances, right?
Yeah.
So explain to us the results of the one pot and how it would benefited you guys.
We stopped bouncing checks. We were able to purchase more things. When I say purchase more things, do more within our business. Because like I said, I think one of our first businesses was investing homes. Because we also started out paying people to fix and got stuck one day. They was like came to work, didn't come back anymore. So we too was like, okay, we could save money here. And then we also looked at it like, okay, we could save more money here if you sell our own houses. So that's how all that came about. But you know what, Harrison, let me tell you something. I just don't think we know relationships very well. We don't know marriage very well either. But if someone can just sit down and talk to some people and just listen, it was a young lady. She gave her testimony and she said, you know what, I cut back all my eating out at certain places. I only ate out once a day or something like that. She did a lot of changes, and all those changes that she did, she took that money and she used to send it to the bank and put it in a savings account. And she never checked on her. She didn't go to the bank. She would just send it checked on her balance or anything. So because she said she had a goal and it was something she wanted to do. Yeah. So for 3 years, she took all this extra money that she was spending and she kept sending it to the bank. Excuse me. After 3 years, she had $60,000 that she had saved up from just extra spending. And you know what I mean by extra spending, that candy bar that you might buy, that those cookies you might go, that Cinnabon or whatever, this stuff that you ain't. She stopped it, sent all the money to the bank and never went inside the bank, just always sent the check to the bank or I forgot how she did it. But anyway, my point is, if you say to someone, look, if you put you open up a CD account and you put $1,000 in there and this CD is going to yield you, 5%. You can have so much money that you're not paying attention to in 5 months. I just don't think we talk about it. I don't think people understand that we just spend and waste money. I'm a woman. I like to shop. I'm not gonna lie. I like nice things, but there has to be a limit to this, or it has to be a time. Like when I was younger, I could not do that. So you get to a point where I've got all this money here. I can do this, but it's not something that you can do all the time. You have to be able to be smart enough to invest some money for your future, because you're in a long game. You're not in a short-term game. And I just don't think we are taught that. I don't think people teach us how to be married.
But you're right. We're not taught that. We're taught that from a woman's perspective today. Get what you can out of the man. All right. Trick if he got it. And men, soil your oats, at least 50 women before you settle down with the one. Like we're not taught how to engage with the opposite person or opposite sex when it comes to relationships in all aspects. And some of us grew up in homes that we never saw that. We never saw that happening, right? So now we're getting into it, and we believe it's a man's responsibility to do all these things for me, all right? The man is thinking, if I'm doing all this, I expect all this to happen. So why isn't this happening? You know, we the reason why I think that's happening is because we don't understand that when we go into a marriage, we're really trying to, or we're really going into it with understanding that I am looking to do for my spouse as well as myself. I'm looking
Yeah.
to do for my spouse, my family. I want to see my family elevate. Some people marry because they got a nice little shorty on the side. She mad pretty. This is my shorty right here. She's gonna make me look good. She's gonna make me look good. You know, some women may get married because he's got all these nice things, and I'm gonna have a better life inside of it. And they're not looking, okay, what can I? And this is the thing, right? A couple of years ago, women were triggered by this statement: "What do you bring to the table?" Okay, but that's not a question that should go only one way. The true question is, all right, how are we complementing one another in this marriage? How are we complementing each other? Meaning, how are we complementing, coming together to make sure that this is going to work? And I don't know if we have that mindset today. I don't even think it's encouraged.
You know, I think you should go into a marriage with no intentions on getting out of it. First thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think you should say to yourself, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make this work and to be successful. If that is your mindset on a daily basis, so that you're telling yourself, I'm gonna be successful today, and this is what I got to do,
Yeah.
and you're telling yourself that daily or weekly, then it's you yourself being successful. It has nothing per se to do with what your husband is doing, you know, or not doing. I'm going to be successful today. So this is what it looks like for me. I'm going to do this. And if it requires me to do this, whatever that may be, you know, if it requires me not to spend, $2,500 on that Louis, I can't spend $2,500 on that Louis. I really like it, but I can't do it, you know, because that is not a measure of success in my marriage or whatever it is, you know, whatever it is every day or every weekly. If you're saying to yourself, I am going to do that. This is actually, it's the most important relationship that I have outside of God. It's got to be good.
Yeah.
It's got to be successful. I'm going to pour all I got into it. I'm giving 100%. You know, the 50-50 is something that you do, is something that I did with my female roommate prior to being married. That is not something a husband should even expect from his wife, because a woman in marriage, we have other purposes. Husband is one, family is one. Now, if he decides that that is not what he wants, then that woman would have to make a choice whether to say I do to that proposal. Yeah. And, you know, it's up to her. But to expect, I think, for a woman to do 50-50, I think in finances, right? I don't think that that's something that a man should even want from that particular woman. Again, I think he can do best with a plan and a helpmeet, a helpmeet or a helpmate, whether her contributing to make something happen per se. You know, if her 50% is the only way we can pay our bills, then we're in too deep.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of that makes a lot of us, like, it goes over our heads. It really does go over our heads, because for some of us, we're thinking, well, she's working, right? So why can't she do something? Why can't she pay for something? And
she can, but it's all going in one pot. Whatever y'all want to do. You know, it's not that she absolutely can pay for, but it's not her paying for it. We're paying for it. She's paying for it. Pot. So we have to listen. If you're struggling, seeing another person, becoming one with another person, sharing your entire life with another person as one, you know, you see her, you see yourself, you see him, you see yourself. If you can't grasp that concept, then marriage is not what you really, really want. Yeah. So just leave it alone until you can get to that place, or if you never get to that place, you'll be fine. But that is what's required. It requires sacrifice, and it requires being one with another, because I'm saying this to do it successfully. That's what's required. Because when something catastrophic happens, do you look at her like when you do lose your job? You've been working 20 years. They may not know this, but you remember 20 years ago, when that first, it's actually even longer than that, but that first saying, they go on postal. You remember that, right?
I remember that.
Yep. Okay, that came because there were so many postal workers that had been working 20 plus years on their job, and all of a sudden they were just laid off. They were sitting down counting the months and days where they were going to retire, and it was all taken from them.
Yeah.
It was taken from them. Now, whoever she was married to was living or had lived off this postal job for 25 plus years, and now it's gone. Now he's no longer a good man. She's no longer a good woman. What do we do? How do we function if something like that goes on? If we're not living within our means, or if it's requiring two incomes just to live, just for the necessities, then we have an issue.
You know, you were talking and I'm reading the comments. You know what would eliminate completely the whole 50-50 discussion? It is the one pot. Because if both incomes are put into one pot, there's no question about who's paying what.
None at all.
There's no question of who's paying what. Like, the bills are being paid by who? By us.
By us. Yeah. And guess what, man? If you're the person that's best with paying bills, you do it. It's okay. I'm taken care of as a woman. And if the woman is best at organizational skills and paying the bills, you let her pay the bills.
Yeah.
Now, again, if you don't trust the woman that you are trying to marry, you really shouldn't marry her. I mean, the woman that you're married to, that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, or vice versa. If you're having these thoughts in your mind that they go steal your money, take your paycheck and run away with it, all that good stuff, then you don't want to marry that person. That you're not right. It's not right.
Bad job vetting.
You did a terrible job vetting.
Horrible.
And guess what they'll say? Oh, but people can change. Oh, yeah, they can. You can too. Because you have that same access to that one pot that other person has also.
Yeah.
Make the marriage work for you. It's not bondage. It is kind of a bondage situation, but it's a good bond. You can make and create a good bond with another person that you love and trust. You absolutely can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we've been in this conversation now for about almost an hour now, right? So in closing, right? Let's leave it to 3. What are 3 things that a couple can do in their marriage in regards to their finances, all right, that will level their finances up for exponential growth in the next 5 years?
You got to come up with a plan.
Boom.
Or maybe I should do it opposite way. Put your money in one pot, come up with a plan, and make sure that plan includes some sort of investing.
So one pot, create a plan, and invest. Okay.
Yeah. And when I say invest, I'm not necessarily meaning in stocks and bonds, something that money that you're not spending, because when you put your money together, you have more money. It's just clear. You have more money. Make that money make some money for you. Like I said, you could I don't know if I said this, I thought about it, but you could put your money in a CD, which is just a savings account that makes money. Put it in that. Do something to allow that money to grow. So when you go on to the next phase of your marriage, then you will be ready for it. If it's buying a house, if it's having children, whatever it is, you will have a jump on it. You'll be ahead of the game instead of behind the game. And you remember now, be intentional and have that plan and stick to that plan. Because what you don't want to do is have oops, baby, in between.
Yeah.
And you didn't have no money, or this was a time when whatever, was going on. You want to try to stick to your plan. I know babies are lovely, but they're very stressful if you don't have no money for them. That's just real.
And there's a lot of oops babies out there among people who aren't married, and it divides their finances even more. So I recommend stay away from the oops.
Listen, we're trying to share some stress-free situations to take into a long-term relationship. Of course, you don't have to do it the way that we did it, or that I did it, or that Harrison did it, whatever. You don't have to, but these ways do actually work, and it is stress-free because in a marriage relationship, one thing always causes another. If there's an issue here, there's going to be another issue somewhere else in that relationship. It's not like this part is broken right here, but these 2 areas over here are okay. It's not like that. It just kind of pings off each other. So if I can keep my finances good, my sex is going to be good too.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to have that glow. All that stuff is going to work in connection with each other. Yeah. But if the woman, if she loses her security and her stability, she gets cut off notices, she gets eviction notices on the door, things of that nature.
It's not going to be good.
No. It's
Not at
not.
all.
You're gonna have a terrible relationship and probably head to divorce. And keep in mind too, in my opinion, this is my opinion. Y'all can say a whole lot of things, but in my opinion, the only reason why divorce actually happens is because of selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
It could create a whole lot of scenarios can be created, but the end thing is someone was selfish and decided to look out
Facts.
for themselves,
Facts.
and that's what broke up the marriage.
And I'm glad that's a good segue into me wanting to read one of Trey's comments. Trey says, how do you have more money if you put it together? If for two people, if I have more money, I will have more money if I pay half the bills. You may have more money if you can find a roommate to pay half your bills. But we would have more money together if we have one pot and do it that way. So I think you mentioned this also, right? So you said a woman who can't look at even something as low as $57,000 a year and can't live within her means is not ready to be a wife.
Right.
I say, and Trey, this is not a matter of offense to you, just based off of the comments that you say. If you're looking to get married and have your wife pay half the bill so that you can have more money, you're not ready to be a husband. And I'm not saying this out of disrespect. I'm talking about in general to everybody else. Like if you want to get married to somebody else so that you can have more money on the side, you're not really ready to be a husband. That's not what providers do. That's not how they enter into marriages. And this is not like an attack on Trey. Just wanted to share that. But unless you want.
Let me add this because we do talk about one pot, and I talk about putting all the money in one pot and paying bills out of that one pot and things of that nature. And I also speak of a plan and a budget. But the one thing I don't say, because I just automatically think that everybody understands that all these things come underneath that plan, is when we're coming up with that budget and we're paying those bills, we're establishing what bills we're going to pay. Meaning your wife can't go out and get a $10,000 credit card at Belk, or your husband can't go out and buy a boat, things of that nature. It has to be within the budget of what we can afford for this 57,000 or whatever it is that the one pot is holding. We are definitely regulating bills. It's not like we just, all willy-nilly doing this. But I've also said to you all, before you even marry her or, ask her to marry you, and since me and you are asking, you want to make sure the finances are checked out. That is one way to see if this woman is aligning herself to be a good wife, because she has to be a good adult woman that has some sort of discipline and structure in order to become that wife. There has to be some kind of mindset shift or shifting taking place to be able to be a wife, because it's no longer about you. So we got to be showing you that, I can pay bills, I can make sure the lights stay on. I can make sure my car is clean. I can make sure that, bill collectors are not calling me, that I'm not going into debt. You don't want a liability. You want an asset.
Facts.
So the wife needs to look, or the woman you choose needs to look like an asset. So I think it's very important in your responsibility to vet her to see if that is what she looks like. In her, ladies, I've said this before. I don't think that we're in a position to vet, meaning asking questions of the men, but we definitely can pay attention. If you go over to his house and there's a bunch of past due notices on the table, he's got child support, 2 or 3 kids, it may not be a good investment. So it's things you want to think about, don't just, love, it ain't all about the love. It's, you got, you going for life together with one person. You want to make sure that you can do this for life. So pay attention to their finances. If you can't ask, he's going to ask you the question. Man, y'all need to ask the questions. Who do you owe? Got some student loans? How much you owe? This is, and even if you got to work towards paying those things off because she's a great girl before you actually marry her, then that's what y'all have to do. I think that's her responsibility, but she needs to understand that, hey, this is not something I want to take into my marriage, so I'm going to concentrate on paying this off. Yeah. You have to prepare for being married if you're not already ready.
Agreed. A Lost in Translation said, Trey has a good question. He wants to know what's in it for men, the one pot. Because there's a lot of men concerned with what, they get out of a marriage, right? because they think that marriage could be a financial liability. I gotta be honest, I don't see it that way. If you have somebody who is looking at the marriage as togetherness, but again, I don't agree with Trey here, but he wants to know what's in it for men.
Okay, so what's in it for men? I'm assuming that we're assuming that the man is the
Oh,
one that's
I'm
making.
sorry, my apologies. He never asked that question.
Oh, but let
Oh
me
no,
just
he's
answer it.
okay. I get it. Yeah, got
Let
it.
me
Yeah.
answer it anyway. So we're assuming that with the one pot, the male is mostly he's the one that's making the most money. That's what we're assuming, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we also are assuming that the woman is the one that is paying the bills if those things are benefits. But whatever she would benefit is the same thing that he would benefit because
Yeah.
like I gave an example in 2023 a lot of women are making more money than men, and if their husbands, their spouses, what have you, and if that woman is willing to put her money in one pot with her husband and her husband is the one paying the bills, it would
Yeah.
be just the same benefit as it would be if he's making more money than she and she's putting all her money in one pot and she's actually physically paying the bills. Y'all act like y'all relationships go be somewhere like in the wild wild west where people just doing stuff. That's not that's not marriage. Marriage is people, we're looking out for each other's best interest.
Yeah.
You don't let your wife go. You don't let your husband go. That's your man.
Yeah.
You got to be good. So you making sure he has everything he needs, and vice versa. So that's not your enemy. That's you. So it's not about the money. And for as benefits go, there's a lot of benefits to being married. Your wife takes care of you. She actually finishes and completes that circle. She does. You are definitely logical, men typically. She adds that emotional, and sometimes she ends that. She could be the closer, or you could be the idea person, or she could be the idea person. You're the closer. She gives you a whole nother vantage point to what is being done. She completes the circle. Yeah. Women typically complete the circle. Now, if you meet a woman and you don't get that from her, then maybe, you have to think more about what it is you want out of a marriage relationship. Yeah. Because it definitely she should be some sort of, she should add some more balance or some sort of completion to who you are. As in, not saying that you wouldn't be great without her, but God put us together. He made her and created her or women from you. So there's a purpose for it. Yeah. So, there's a benefit.
If I can add, hopefully I can, if a man goes into a marriage or wanting a woman to go half, right? That's your prerogative. It might work for you guys. Just don't expect her to be that traditional wife that many men want. If she's going half on all the bills, right? You need to go half on all the other responsibilities in the home. That means you cook half the time, you clean half the time, half the time you're changing diapers, half the time you can't nurse the baby, but you're going to feed the baby. Half the time you're taking them to school. And so if it's going to be 50-50, right? Then you're going to do 50-50 on all things. However, if it's a one pot thing, right? You're sharing everything. And I think what he's trying to identify is 50-50 may work better for him as an individual. But if you're getting married and the two truly are becoming one, then you're not looking at marriage like 50-50, you pay this half, and then we'll be fine. You're looking at it as we got whatever we need to do so that we can live the life that we want to live. So we're going to do whatever it is we need to do together. And I think that I like your motto, the one pot, because it really does allow for a marriage to be together in all the key areas that's required. Some men just want to be together in the bed. I just want to be together in the bed, but together in all aspects of the marriage, including finances, should look like one pot. So now, if there's increase in the bank account, we have increase in the bank account, not just I. Because truth be told, let's say, because there's always going to be a deficit there, even if you think that you're making more and you're paying 50. So when it's time to plan for vacation, right? She may not have all of it because you're going 50-50 and you make more. So you're going to have to cover a little bit extra. Or are you going to make her still pay half for her vacation? Or if not, you don't go? Like it's weird.
I hate to see women at the grocery store and with their husbands and the husband standing back and the woman is like, give me another 20, and that kind of stuff, just to buy groceries. What are we doing? You're not my friend. You're supposed to be my keeper, my leader, my priest. You're supposed to have a plan for our family. I'm feeling like I'm just out here. I need for you to do these things so I can be good. I need that stability and that security from my man. Now, Trey just made a comment about no one is traditional anymore. And I'm just going to say this. I wasn't traditional because I myself was a single mom, but I'm very traditional. So, it depends on the woman.
Yeah.
It depends on the woman you meet and what she actually wants. Just because somebody else is doing something, it doesn't mean or require that you do it.
Yeah.
Dearly beloved.
I have said a million times, we need to create our own reality. We don't have to follow the bunch. But another thing for Trey and a lot of other people too, Harrison, something I realized, single people cannot see what you see as a married man. They can't. They just can't. And it's sad, but they cannot see it, and it's okay. Because they're just not in that particular position at this time. So we can talk to our faces are gray, and they will not be able to see what we mean about becoming one and loving your spouse more than you love yourself. They're not going to be able to see it. But I'm going to tell you, it's such a joy. I always say that over here at SBU, we got this lover's lane. There are so many young people. I got 3 couples in my mind right now that have gotten married within the last year or year and a half that have come or been on my channel. And it is so wonderful to hear them speak. Yeah. One young man, he said, he used to be in the gender war hard. These women, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And he finally met that one. He married her, right?
Yeah.
And now he's up here talking about, oh, my wife, oh my God, y'all, she put shampoo in my bottle and I didn't even have to tell her. Y'all just don't understand. I'm like, it's like, this is what I'm talking about.
Yep.
So it's just, they're not going to be able to understand it.
Yeah.
So, whatever moves.
Well, unlike Homeboy, they'll understand it when they finally get it.
Yes. But I'm concerned. I guess you just have to really, really want it. And, the fussing and fighting is just what you do to try to, put up your defenses to get rid of the ones that are not sincere. I don't know. But, so we just can only plant seeds to it. I try to live my life as an example. I have the results for it. Of course, I mean, I would love to share my entire life, but that may not come off well, Yeah. But I can only share what I know, how I came to the knowledge of it, and, answer questions going forward. But you actually have to put in the work and you have to be open-minded to it. But I can tell you this, it appears living a single life, is not quite satisfying for some.
True.
So,
Says, I appreciate you so much having this conversation with me. Like, I really do. Like, it's needed. And some people may have some different ideas about it, which is fine. But nonetheless, I think it's necessary. It's worked out for you. It's worked out for a lot of other marriages. In fact, almost, all the financial experts that I've gleaned from say the same thing, that the one-pot method in marriage is the best because it helps the marriage flourish financially. So thank you so much for your time and sharing your story. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And we got to do this again. And
Yeah,
Trey's still over here talking. Trey, I typically dismissive of commentary. No, it's just, listen, just like Harrison just a moment ago, and I'm going to definitely let you guys want to say this.
Yeah.
Just like a moment ago, you mentioned people, you gave an example of women who just don't want to be married. They're very rebellious or what have you. And you also gave an example of men that just are selfish and just don't want to be married. I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to people that want to be married and want to be good wives. That's who I am actually trying to, that's who I want to hear me. Because we waste our time, entertaining all that other stuff because they know what they want and they know what we're saying is correct because you have the results for it. So if I'm dismissive of some commentary, it's because it's just nothing I can do about it. You got to do the work. So, but thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. And I love your content, and I see that you're growing and on other podcasts doing your thing. Great to see what God is doing through you, and I know that a lot of women are getting a lot of great insight from you, and it's going to convert to happy marriages, successful marriages, financially successful marriages, and all that. Even if there's some men in the chat that just can't get it yet, when they find that one, they just might. They just might.
You know what? The women fighting too. They fighting
Yeah.
tooth and nail. Look, go ahead, fight. I'm
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just trying to help the situation because I think being married is a good position for a woman, being covered, and all those things. But it is a job that we have to do, and I do and hope that women do it correctly. It's not for someone just to lay down on a good man. I don't believe in that type of stuff. We have a role we have to play.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to produce good wives.
I do want to invite Trey to a live stream. Maybe him and I can have a discussion about this. Not a fight, but a discussion. If he's available, hit me up on Instagram at Andre_D_Harrison, and we can see if we can set up a time to have a conversation about this. If you want it private, we can do it private as well. But
Trey is a frequent guest on SB Nation. He's outstanding. Trey is actually one of the persons. I think I mentioned him earlier. I didn't say his name, but I said I have convinced the troll to now do one pot. Trey is the one who told me. So he's just putting the work for us tonight. That's what he's doing. But Trey would be excellent on your live stream. He actually would be.
That'd be
definitely.
Dope. All right. But thank you so much. I got to go and get dinner in my belly and go pick up my son from basketball practice. But I appreciate this time, and thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Bye.